Hey guys, Veebat here with another V-Plays with, I guess you could say, like a 1.1 edition of the beginner's guide here, because as I was making that series of videos, I learned quite a bit about the game. I learned a little bit more about the nuances of the controls, and I also discovered some interesting facts from you guys in the comments. The first of which is going to be that the radiators are not properly working in-game, and I have shown a lot of in-game use of the radiator, and I feel like it was a mistake on my part, and I, one, have to apologize to you guys, and two, don't think that you're alone in the pain if you spent money on a radiator based on my suggestion, because I had it on about 20 aircraft. Now, not only did I lose the money that I had invested into it, because it cost about 50% to sell it compared to when you purchased it, but I also had to replace that equipment on all 20 of those aircraft, which for me is averaging about 400,000 credits per airframe for what eventually became a lightweight airframe swap out, pretty much across the board. So in total, 20 aircraft, 400,000 credits each. You do the math, that was a lot of grinding for some extra credits that I probably could have prevented from wasting. Now, what exactly is wrong with the improved radiator? Well, what's wrong with the improved radiator is that it says that it functions while the aircraft is idle, that it will give you a 30% boost to the 30% increase in the replenishment of your boost, right? But what is idle? For me, idle is I got my fingers off of the boost and the brake. That's idle to me, right? I'm not touching anything that's idle. It's like taking your foot off the gas in your car and it just kind of rolls forward. It's an idle. That's not how the game interprets it. The way the game interprets it is while your aircraft is using the air brakes for whatever reason. So as a result, it was only active when you were stopping your aircraft, which seemed really counterintuitive to me, and I didn't quite understand why we built it to work that way or why they incorporated it in that fashion. So I'm sorry, but it's not working as intended. And you can see here, I'm gonna throw up a test of me burning with the engines and then allowing the aircraft to build back up its boost based off of letting the aircraft sit at idle and then holding down the air brakes, and you'll see the drastic difference between the two when it comes to how fast the boost replenishes itself. And this is with the improved radiator on this airframe, just to show you the testing I did to validate my assumptions and what I was informed of from your guys' comments. So thanks again to those of you who decided to hop in and put that comment in there in the video. So thank you. Something else I want to cover is going to be your mini-map on the bottom right hand side. You can change the scale of it. Plus and minus controls the overall map size, as you can see in the bottom corner. I suggest going with the largest scale, and then using 0 and 9 will allow you to be able to increase or decrease the zoom inside of that, essentially the scale. I prefer to go with the second scale zoom. That allows me to be able to identify which direction these the icons are going, so whether or not it's, you know, heading towards or away from me, so that way I can decide which type of tail engagements I want to get into, or if somebody's getting vectored in onto my back end. Another thing I wanted to cover was going to be the tail gunner. If you actually take that black ring and center that yellow reticle in the middle, you'll see that kind of inner circle start to form in there. That inner circle is going to start increasing the chances of getting critical hits, as well as increasing the overall damage output, and that's like focusing your fire with the machine guns. It's a lot more labor intensive, but like compare that to sitting just outside of the edge of the circle, just having the guns on target, and I'm not letting it zoom and get the full hit on the target, and you can see that it's not getting as many criticals, we're not getting as much damage output. And then I'll throw it back on another target here in a second, and I'll go ahead and let the thing hammer down with a fully scoped in shot. Here we are again, scoping in, and just look at the damage output. So it definitely is going to be advantageous to center your reticle on the target when you're utilizing your tail gunners to get the best effect. Another thing I was pretty remiss in talking about was going to be the token system. So the token system was introduced, from what I understand, during the Skies of Albion event. Unfortunately, I wasn't around for that, but it was a way for you to be able to buy equipment crates to try and unlock some of these bombers, such as the A-26B here. But now this apparently is just window dressing. I'm not sure what happened here. If any wargaming guys ever see this video, like legendary fighters of World War II, exchange your token for high-tier aircraft from the tech tree. Where? Where? I haven't seen it. It says coming soon, but it's said coming soon for months now. I've been playing since January. I haven't seen any result of getting these tokens except for the 2 bottom permanent offers. So please inform me as to what these other possible events are that are coming down the pipe. So, how do you earn tokens? Well, you get tokens by being able to achieve Valor marks here, these important type of objectives. So there's a certain list of different achievements you can get, and those achievements will allow you to unlock these tokens, and then you can build up enough of them for you to be able to get either buy hangar slots for 18 tokens, which is a nice feature because I know in World of Tanks, that's the first thing I ended up having to spend gold on, was that I wanted to have more than 5 tanks. So if I wanted to have more than 5 tanks, I would have to buy a slot, and that kind of kills the ability for me to have a free-to-play game and still enjoy myself if I have to constantly get rid of everything that I have and worked for. The other nice thing they have in here is that you can get a premium account. It is 150 tokens, and that is a pretty steep price. I've only been able to activate a 30-day free premium based off of tokens once over the course of the past 4 months now, so it is not an easy endeavor. It definitely takes a lot of work. However, I have discovered and have started to become a little bit better at going after these daily missions. So you have 3 different basic types of daily missions. You have a 1 token reward, you have a 4 token reward, and then you have a 10 token reward, and these can be completed every day. And if you don't like the mission that you're handed, you can re-roll it using this replace mission button, but you can only do that once per day, so be wary of when you click it, because if you do click that and end up with a tougher mission, then you're stuck with it for another 24 hours. And these are going to be broken down into 3 tier brackets. You have 1 through 4, 5 through 7, and 8 through 10. You have to have an aircraft in each one of these blocks in order for you to be able to complete these missions, and you are also probably going to want them to be in a multitude of different platforms as well, because some of these are going to specifically stipulate that you're either in a bomber or a ground attacker, or you're in a fighter, or you're in a heavy fighter. And in those instances, you're going to find that you're going to need to have one of those aircraft in your inventory for each one of these tier brackets, which is why when I was going over my Blenheim video, I said, hey, I keep the Blenheim around so that way I can do my low tier missions. So if a mission is to go after and bomb ground targets, I always have a tier 3 sitting around to do that, and if I need to kill air targets, I keep my Focke-Wulf 5-7 laying around to do just that, for taking down aircraft at tier 3 in order to do these low level missions. So you can see here, take by storm, earn the required number of personal points while capturing military bases. So essentially the rocket bases. That's why the Blenheim comes in handy, or the DOE 217Z, because I find there's more rocket bases at tier 4 than there are at tier 3. Just a word to the wise. But once I complete that section of the mission, I will get 50,000 silver as a bonus, and then that will be the final one in this series in order to give me 10 more tokens. So if you're doing the math, you can get 15 tokens a day. Theoretically, every 10 days you should be able to get a 30-day premium. But these are not easy to achieve, and it takes quite a bit of gameplay just to be able to achieve one of these, let alone for every single bracket and for each one of the dailies. But it is a definite opportunity for you to be able to get some more tokens into your kitty, opposed to just relying strictly on getting medals and battles, because that is also not a guarantee either. It's going to be very much dictated on how well you happen to be playing that day and whether or not the matches have aligned to give you that opportunity. Planes I suggest to have in order to be able to do these daily missions. For the air-to-ground piece, I highly suggest getting a Do 217Z when it comes to the Tier 4 missions, because this bad boy right here is more than capable of satisfying a lot of the air-to-ground target work that you'll be trying to do. I actually repurchased this and I sold the Do 217 because I already have a Tier 6 bomber in the form of the A-26B, but that does bring me to another point when it comes to the next bracket of your Tier 5 through 7. When it comes to going after ground targets, I would then suggest getting a Do 217. A Do 217 is by far the best Tier 6 bomber in the game. I enjoy flying the A-26B more, just because I like the style of this airplane and how it works, but when it comes to actual game mechanics, if you've watched my Do 217 videos, you'll see that those 500-pound bombs are more than enough to be able to take out an entire site, an entire ground site, once you have Demolition Expert on the pilot. So that's going to be your next best bet for going after and taking objectives when it comes to a Tier 5 through 7. When it comes to 8 to 10 for killing things on the ground, there's a few options, and I'm not going to recommend this for anybody who doesn't already have one of these, but if you were fortunate enough to unlock this aircraft in the skies of Albion, this is an excellent option for you to use when it comes to going after ground targets. It is just an absolutely spectacular airframe for being able to do just that. I wish there were more bombers to be able to augment that, but this is going to be your best bet. However, if you can't do that and you need to go and attack ground targets using a non-premium aircraft, the Russian IL series is going to be your best bet for being able to take out ground targets. You can do the same thing with the German ground attackers, but this is going to be a lot more consistent because this isn't going to be multifaceted in the sense that it's going to be going after air targets as well. If you've watched my ME 265 and 329 video, you'll know that a big part of the role for the German ground attackers is to counter other ground attackers, and that's time you're not killing a ground target trying to get your daily mission done. So with the IL-20, you have enough firepower with your 12 rockets and 2 bombs, which is going to carry over for the next 2 airframes, and enough gunpowder to be able to take out most buildings once you dispensed your ordnance. And it only gets better as you go up the line. So as you continue down this line and you get the IL-40 and the IL-40P, just recommend using that. That's going to be your best bet across the board for taking out ground targets. When it comes to things like taking out air targets, you're going to want something that's kind of a turny-burny fighter. When it comes to me, what I prefer to use when it comes to the low tiers for just killing aircraft, most people have been gifted an aircraft like this, the I-15 BIS, or there's this Hawk 3 I got as a gift. That's a great option as well. But if I also need to kill air targets at low tier, the gunpowder and the accuracy of these 20mm cannons at Tier 3 on the Focke-Wulf 5.7 is absolutely immense. If you didn't have access to any of those aforementioned premiums, this will do the job tenfold. It'll kill all the aircraft you needed to go after, and it has better altitude performance and much better speed characteristics, but it is not maneuverable at all, so you're going to find that to be just a little bit of a challenge. When it comes to Tier 5 through 7 rather, either my fan favorite here is going to be the Airacobra, or I really like the XFL-1, but it's going to really come down to your flavor of choice. Pick the aircraft that you enjoyed grinding, getting to this point to be your air-to-air killer, and just keep that and work on it, because that's going to be a great way to achieve your daily missions. And it really isn't much of a niche when it comes to doing air target kills. It's really just going to come down to what you've done well in and you feel comfortable in, and just keeping one of those airframes in your inventory in order to satisfy these daily missions in order for you to be able to get the tokens you need. Aside from that, that really covers the main portions of this daily mission piece. The daily mission piece very much is going to fall into either killing ground targets or air targets, or capturing zones, which you can capture zones in a non-bomber. Like, you can capture zones by killing aircraft, right? So that's another option for this mission in and of itself. So again, guys, this is a kind of a catch-all. It's more of a beginner's guide after the beginner's guide, but maybe good for people to view before they start it again, because there's some corrections in here and things I learned as I went through the game and was developing those videos for y'all. And I think there's some corrections that I definitely wanted to get out there, especially the radiator thing. And I also think it's important to emphasize some of the other tactics and little tips and tricks I discovered along the way. So as always, like, favorite, comment, subscribe, and let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll catch you on the next one.